streaming by yourself, Alex?
I think we could. Yeah. I think it's okay. It's okay. We need double, triple um, staff for somewhere where I get like 1,200 people. Then it gets very, very. But I think I can manage. I can manage today. I hope. Um, all right. So you should be seeing my screen. Screen sharing as well. Perfect. How is everyone doing? Hello from Texas. Hi, Roxanne. New York. Kiel, Northern Germany. Ah, Sebastian, we're a bit closer. Colombia, Germany. Kreuzberg. Not so far, Davide.
Yeah.
Not so far. Although I'm in Barcelona this week. Los Angeles. Wow, fantastic. 114 people and a lot to cover. Just give me one more minute to have my setup to let people in, to see the chat, three, see what I'm presenting, and then we can get started. All right, good. Okay, so I can see you guys here. It's an art. I think Jan is getting better at it because he's doing it more often than me now. Ireland, Belgium, Menorca. Very good. Okay, so I'm going to make you co-host, Chris. So then we'll see everything. I have to do it in the middle. And I think we're good to go. Let's start?
Yeah.
Okay, super. Welcome everyone to this new 9x Live session. This is not Jan this time. He's been doing 10 in a row, I think. So unfortunately, today, or fortunately, this is going to be me. And today we're going to cover a very interesting topic, one that I personally don't fully grasp. So I'm going to have a ton of questions, and I won't teach anything today. Today we're bringing an expert on the topic of search, more specifically AI search. We'll have a very, very brief round of introduction. That's the only thing that I'm going to do. Then I'm going to sit back, relax, and ask questions and learn side by side with you. I'll be ending the chat as well. Bring your questions. I'll try to do justice to everyone and have the most relevant one, the most frequent ones back to Chris, who's going to just answer all the questions you may have around AI search. We're going to cover the state of RAG, retrieval augmented generation. We're going to see why search is so important. Yes, in 2026, and especially with AI, search is a key part of a key question that you need to ask yourself when it comes to your stack. And most importantly, Chris is going to has brought with him a ton of use cases and live demos so that you can see concretely what we mean by that. So for those who see my face for the first time, don't know, I'll just arrive randomly. I'm Alex, the CEO at 9xgo9x.com. We are building your one-stop shop to learn AI and automation. We run a YouTube channel with now over 50,000 subscribers, where you can get some content, some news, trying to stay up to date on everything that is happening in AI. We also primarily teach AI and automation to people in companies. You can see some of the customers that we have the pleasure to work with. I need to check just one last thing. Yes, resuming recording. Perfect. One important part on who we are, none of us is an engineer. So we are able now to build a lot of things on our own, pretty much anything we want without having been engineers ourselves. And I really believe in bringing AI and automation skills to marketers, to people working in operations, to people working in finance. because they are the ones who know the processes better and will eventually be able to refine their automations and automate their work. The YouTube channel I just mentioned, if you are looking for a free resource, interesting videos once a week on AI and automation use cases or new tools, don't forget to subscribe. I will drop the link once I am done with the presentation. And today, as mentioned, we have our guest that is going to talk about search. So Christophe Pasquier, who's founder and CEO of not one, but two companies or two products, shall I say? I think it's more accurate, two products. Yeah. So
Yeah,
Super
yeah.
and Slide. And we're going to talk more specifically about search, which is more on the super side. Search seems super simple. It seems like something that's a given right now, but it's a whole lot more complex than most people think. There are different ways you can search. And especially in the age of AI, when everybody's talking about context is so important, well, guess what? You have to search for it sometimes. And so the quality of your search, the search mechanism that you're going to implement or you're going to buy from different vendors is going to matter a lot down the line when you're going to build AI systems. This is pretty much all I know about the topic. Luckily, Christophe is a lot more knowledgeable on the topic and is going to walk us through that. Chris, if you want to share your screen, and
Yeah.
stage is yours. I go to the chat and here to learn with everyone else.
All right, let's get started. Thanks so much, Alex. I will take over the presentation. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Thanks, Tim. All right,
Perfect.
awesome. Thanks for the intro, Alex. So as Alex shared, I'm the founder of Super, which is an enterprise search solution. And it's actually part of Slide, which is a knowledge-based solution. We have two products. One that used to be a pre-AI, a good place to store and centralize information. We realized that most of our customers were here to find answers. And so we built a second product that can be used as a standalone, which is called Super. I would use it for my demos. It's not supposed to be just about Super. So the interesting bits that I want to share during this presentation are more about RAG in general, enterprise search more globally, connectors as well in general AI tools. The goal is really to kind of understand the different type of retrievals, how does the market kind of evolve, and how do you think about, should you think about RAG, when should you build, when should you buy? So yeah, that's the goal today. So the first thing in terms of RAG, this is a world that was super hyped in the start of AI in 2023. Then it got very bad press. So just a reminder, what's RAG? It's retrieval augmented generation. It's really like the basic of you ask a question to LLM. The answer is not in its training data set. So typically it's private data from your company. To be able to get the answer, the LLM will just fetch the information from a data store. So it can be a search embedding a vector search. It can be an SQL database. It can be basically anything that it taps that has your data, and it gives the answers to the user. So really like a RAG, the only thing that needs to be remembered is it's search plus AI. Like search is the retrieval part, the AI is augmented generation part. And this is why I think RAG should not have a bad press. It's just that RAG, like a basic implementation, maybe was a bit problematic at first. But at the end of the day, like RAG is just about giving your application or your users, if you're in Teams, access to private information.
And why did you get bad press, Chris? Like, can you point to a specific event or a specific reason? Like companies tried to implement large projects and did it see impact or anything specific?
The biggest problem was that at the beginning of LLMs, 3.5 and 4 and 4.0 had very bad problem to scale with context, and hallucination were rising very, very fast with large context. And the problem of RAG is that you don't know where the answer is, where the data is. And so by nature, you feed a lot of context. You say, like it might be, the answer might be in this set of documents. So that's accentuated the problem of generating hallucination. That was the case for the first models of LLMs. It started to be way less the case because the models are smarter and they fit, or they perform much better with larger context, but also because the technique on how you feed this data is much less naive than just I search once and I feed it, like a big thing and that's it.
Gotcha.
All right, so that's RAG. Now, if we focus on the R part, the retrieval part, the search, it's important to realize that there are like really many ways to get the data that you have, once again, either for your team or for the application that you're building or whatever use case of RAG. There is like the basic keyword search that you have in a Google Drive API, for instance. If you're looking in Google Drive, like you can't ask a question. Like the search API will be just a keyword-based search. You might have semantic, which is one thing that is, I think, quite important. It is meaning-based, so the ability to index data into a semantic vector database means that you can type something in a language and it will find the similar pattern in another language, or more simply, you will type a keyword and it will find the synonyms of these keywords. It's actually much bigger than that. Like it means that if you say, which customer is at risk and it finds mentions of churn, it's not synonymous, right? Like there is a full sentence and there is a keyword. A semantic vector database is able to match this and to find that this probably speaks about this topic. So this is the absolutely essential when you are treating with unstructured set of large data. And then we have the two last ones, structured, and I would say data retrieval is a bit more basic, but structured retrieval is just SQL-like. So just like saying, okay, I want all the entries from my CRM that match this criteria. And data retrieval or API retrieval is really a fetch. So it's kind of like the equivalent of SQL, but just like what you can get with an API. So, the API typically has, oh, sorry, I clicked much. The biggest limitation of APIs is that you get limits in terms of listing, for instance, or in terms of like what you can ask for. So you will get some limits. And then we didn't mention it here, but you can get like hybrid method with the right system. You can get semantic plus structure, for instance, where you say, find all the tickets in Intercom from last month that mention pricing. And then it should find somebody that says, oh, this is too expensive. And expensive is obviously about pricing. So you can get this mix.
One question from Dimitris in the chat, like what kind of data can be processed in RAG? Are we only talking about text or pretty much anything? Can you put images in a vector database or?
I don't know. You can put, at least not in the kind of pure format, an image in a vector database. But if you remember Google Photo, for instance, you can type something like ski, and it will be able to.
It will give you something.
And you can do crazy things, right? Like you can say, great, ski where I fall or something like that, and it finds video of you falling in ski. So
is this semantic? Is it a semantic? Or is it semantic? Or it's a bit more complicated than this, Alex. It's not just semantic. There's a couple of hours of engineering go into it.
Exactly. I mean, that's the full answer. There is a semantic representation of the image that is generated on upload and that is stored.
Gotcha. Okay. So we can process images, we can videos, or you would say this is primarily text and
No. I mean, honestly, this is a good case for more kind of like a defensible, actually kind of SaaS application. Like if you have like a case where the information is in unstructured format, for instance, you have a lot of work around OCR, like being able, for instance, for lawyers or for medical purposes, like a lot of data is in text scanned, sometimes handwritten. And there is a lot of business that gets created around being able to process this data. And then, of course, to store it in this kind of database. Another example would be processing this data, putting it in SQL-like database, and then kind of like having a RAG application on top. So you can get a lot of value from the pre-processing steps when you build the application around this.
Gotcha.
But then once again, RAG is search plus AI. So RAG doesn't mean RAG has been associated a lot to semantic search in one shot plus LLM answering. It's not that. Like it's just like search plus AI, and so you can really kind of like fine tune it in many different ways for your use case. Well, I guess like that's kind of a good segue to the challenges of RAG.
Yeah.
So the very basic kind of way to think, like I assume since there is a lot of AI curious people in this room, that some people kind of try to kind of build their own or to think, should I build my own for case X or Y? The very basic way I would, so just for the context, 90% of the people that use Super, the teams that use Super, had a team internally that was designed to kind of try implementing their own Super for their company. It is very easy to get a wow effect, to get a first layer of success, and it's very hard to get a full product. My advice would be, if your context to retrieve is short, like so if you have just a PDF to process and it fits the token window, just use kind of the most basic application. Just go to LLM and a bit. We have like more and more performing model that cost less and less. You probably don't need a RAG. The second is that if the context to retrieve is well defined, like you know exactly where to find it, you know it's I know which ID to look in Salesforce for that or whatever. You can use maybe MCP, you can use different manners, but you don't need to have like to guess. You don't need the RAG, which is, or at least like this, what we are going to discuss, like the which is more focused on retrieving unstructured information or information that you don't know where to live.
The path is unknown. Like so, the thing that when we prepared the session, I showed you a workflow where we retrieve information from our CRM, and basically we want to retrieve the context on a given deal. And basically the path is very clear. I look at the deal, I look at who's associated to the deal, which company, which contact. Another search then is triggered to look for all the associated contacts. Then we look for their emails, the notes, the call recordings, and then that's it. And so since it's finite, you can fetch a lot of data, but it's finite. I'm not looking anywhere else. I'm not looking for data in Slack. I'm not looking whether there's anything in our Notion in this case. It's all there because of how we've dumped everything in there. Then in this case, I can do my little solution. But the moment I don't know where it is, what you're saying is basically don't even bother building internally, because you're going to run into those challenges.
Yeah, exactly. Like you don't need to. But the challenge is that you should be aware if you are kind of like considering just building it. And if you want to build it, like you have like a lot of open source tools that do it well, like Pinecone or whatever. You have literally like hundreds GitHub repository if you want to build this. If you don't want to build this, or if you want to be aware of the challenge to avoid, the biggest problem of building this is probably this one. Like it's not the first one, but it's replicating permissions, like understanding who in your team can access what, and having permission aware retrieval before having the generation on top. There is like the whole kind of understanding on how your team works, which source of data hold which information, so that you have a structured retrieval. The amount of different type of retrieval, so we didn't really touch it, but you have semantic search, which is very important for unstructured retrieval. So all the information that is in your notes, your meeting transcripts, your documents, your chat, for instance. I don't think it's exhaustive, like your ticketings and project management as well. All this is unstructured, and you need semantic search for this. But you also, even if it's a bit simpler to integrate, you also need to mix with MCPs, so a bit more API call, SQL database. So being able to query a database and to understand its schema is also another complexity. Orchestrate all this, so know how to start your search, find something, trigger the right next tool, and that's the challenges that on my end, we try to fix, but that would be worth kind of considering buying a solution for.
Yeah, you and your team spend the whole time trying to do this better.
Yeah,
You're not done,
yeah,
and
yeah,
you're not done basically.
yeah. We are far
You're
from
still
done, but
finding
yeah, yeah.
gold. Yeah.
It's very hard to really nail, but yeah. Um, voilà.
Yeah, it's when
Okay,
you click
I'm
on
gonna.
the.
Awesome.
I
So
think
maybe
this one is very interesting because this is the confusion. So I think for most people, I see a search bar, I just search, and if the result doesn't appear, it was a bad search, a bad search service, right? Period.
right.
Um, so walk us through, yeah, like the different. How would you categorize the different search bars or search services we might encounter?
But you mentioned your make workflow where you get a dump
Yeah,
of all the context in the context of something bigger, but you have a new lead, you have a new demo or something like this, a new sales contact, and you
yeah,
get into Atio an automation that triggers like an export of all the data around this team, like their company, each contact, the emails, like literally like all the history of all the interaction with the company. And it's predictable. So this is what goes into the automation platforms. It's
yeah.
repeatable, it's predictable, and it's based on external triggers. And then you have like two other categories that are kind of blending together right now, which is all-purpose AI, so Gemini, Claude, ChatGPT. For now, it's really made for on-the-fly ad hoc requests to get some jobs being done. And
Mhm.
then you have the last bit that we play into, like this is super. I see Rovo from Atlassian in the chat, like it's also part of
Would go
this
there.
angle, yeah, which is really focused on having one layer of internal retrieval, so indexing like all the data from your team and being able to find them, and ideally to feed them back into your all-purpose AI and your automation platform. Yeah, that's kind of the way to consider the split today. And they are not really bots for the same use case. So typically, I will probably show at the end like some examples of Claude using Super MCP, but it gets extremely powerful when you can invoke your company data and company answers into already relatively autonomous workflows.
And maybe one question some may have on, for instance, if you have ChatGPT, you have this company context that you can connect now, and or company knowledge. In
Mm.
Claude, you have a couple of connectors and so on. So you're going to touch upon the difference between enabling this versus having a company search product
Right.
that
I
connects
think
also to your tools. Yeah.
I can go straight to it if you want, actually. Like, and we can go back after.
Yeah. Like it doesn't have to be a keynote.
But no, but it's a good point. Yeah, like the big difference between so the top right connectors and the bottom kind of the enterprise search, so having a centralized solution. Um, there is three limits and maybe one reason to kind of consider them differently. So the big first one is the absence of semantic search. These kind of connectors and MCPs and so on don't index your data. So if you ask a question, for instance, on Slack, like find like like what we decided on X, and you don't use the exact keyword that was employed, or this keyword has been used so much that it can't find it. It won't find the results. This when you have like a lot of data and all company have like a exponentially growing amount of data, means that you won't get accurate answers. If you don't get accurate answers in the search business, you basically stop losing trust and just like not you rely on search anymore, and you just nudge your colleague again. So that's one. The second is the understanding on how the knowledge is organized inside the organization, like and also like who you are and the end user asking. So, for instance, if you're asking what's our revenue last month, like where should we ask? Like, is it a document that should mention it? Is it a query that I should run on a certain database? If so, which database, which column? So you need some form of indexing of like the company and their organization. And maybe the most important one is like lack of orchestration. Like if you are asking a question, it's actually hard to realize how many of these are second order magnitude effect. Like you need to ask to get a good answer to a complicated query. the engine needs to do 2 steps, 3 steps, and steps. So if you ask update on Charlie's work, it needs to get what Charlie is working on. Maybe it needs to understand who is Charlie or is a developer. The team is working on Jira and in GitHub. Okay, I will look for this in GitHub. Oh, like for this project, we should use this label filtering. All this kind of little details means that you can have like accurate answers at the end. The last reason I think that is very important to have an enterprise search solution is that you want to give your team, as in like everybody in your team, one place to tap, so that they can plug it into any tool that they use. So if they are in Cloud Code, they use the MCP to get it there. If they are using Cloud or Cloud Cohort, same thing. If they are using ChatGPT, like they should be able to call it from there. But if they start having a vertical tool like Gamma or any kind of AI tool that you use, you should be able to bring the context of your company with it as well. So that's
in the chat. There are a couple of questions. One that jumps right on what we're discussing now. Can you give an example of a simple connector, just for because I mentioned it? What's a simple connector, either in Claude or in ChatGPT? These are the ones that we can connect via the settings, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like like a linear, Slack. I mean, it's not necessarily simple, but it's mostly a reflection of their API. Actually, linear, I'm being hard because linear, I don't know if they expose it through their API, but they have like a @linear, which is absolutely amazing. So they do have a sub-agent to manage their project in natural language, which to me is no longer a simple connector, but 99% of the MCPs and connectors that are available on the platform are just equivalent of their API reflected in MCP.
Okay, understood. And there were 2 more questions. What do you suggest for video search? What's the state of video search? If there's any, this is more like specialized types of search.
No, honestly, I have no idea. I would say like if it's like a walkthrough or something like this, definitely like a text transcript extract, which you should summarize. Like if you do any transcript indexing into semantic database, I would recommend very, very highly to have like one pass of LLM to make sure that you don't index wrong data. It's very, very easy to mess internal knowledge or knowledge for any application with transcript. But then for the video content itself, like honestly, I have no expertise.
Okay, and then the other one was on, it is really edge cases, searching via tech diagrams. So OCR plus RAG, or?
So, I mean, it depends, right? Like if you have a mermaid diagram, for instance, it's indexable.
Code,
yeah, exactly. It's code, so it's very easy to do. If the tech diagram is in a printed format or in a scan format, which feels maybe a bit less usual. Like usually tech diagram will be in format that you can index easily. Yeah, I mean, if it's not, then yeah, OCR definitely works. Like you ask it to convert to a mermaid diagram or to another kind of like standard format plus RAG.
Cool. If there are more questions on the chat, like more edgy, I will let first Chris finish like walking through the presentation, do a couple of demos. Maybe your question will be answered in the meantime, and we'll get back to those at the end because we have a couple more things to cover. So what are we looking at here?
So yeah, just an explanation maybe of like the different stage of RAG. So this is actually our journey in a way, but just to explain a bit like why it gets complicated. The basic way to kind of run a RAG application with semantic search at least is like you have a user question. We embed, so it means like we create a vector of the question. We compare it to all the documents that you have in your database, all the chat or anything that you index. So really all the knowledge of your company. And we find matching patterns, like stuff that really feel that they speak about the same topic. And we give both to the LLM. We say, here is the question, and here is the source that you should answer from, and give you answer. So this is the naive part. It's a bit, I mean, it's amazing at first, and it was amazing. I remember in 2023, in 2022, in December, like right after GPT 3.5 and ChatGPT launched, like we were like absolutely amazed by what we could do with our knowledge base data with this. But yeah, it has its limit.
It also happens to be the only one I know.
Nice.
So I think it's pretty good. It's very complicated enough for me. So level 2.
The level 2 is you start to add like a bit more of techniques around looking in more directions and filtering the number of contexts that you will feed back into the machine. And also kind of generating some citations, explanations. So this one will have like some kind of like, like instead of having just one process, it will have multiple loops. You start to have like a more of a graph. I'm not sure if the word graph is the clearest, but at least it's the technical term. But you will have like multiple jobs being run to generate your answer. It raises drastically the answer. It's not good enough, but it's definitely like a big advance. So it's basically just being smart on the single technique that we saw right before.
Okay.
And
The
then
next one is nice.
yeah, the next one. So
Now we're
I'll try
talking.
to make. I mean, it's not really complicated but the basic of this one is just to say, actually, instead of kind of of just kind of being better at knowing at raising the number of places where we look and then kind of filtering the results, will actually kind of give better tools for the agents to find the information. And so here you can see that we have index knowledge. So you can think, your Google Drive, for instance. We have an SQL tool, and we have maybe an MCP. Like we don't need to only use indexed data. And here what happens is that we ask a question. We tell the agents, here is all the tools that you can access. Decide what you want to use in which order, and then give us the answer. So this is actually like what we implemented in Super, and it's actually still the production version of it. It works very well. It's very impressive, but we can do better. And so this is kind of the next version is kind of like the equivalent of the state of the art of coding agents right now. Which is start having an agent that can retry itself. So this is the part where you have like a question that is asked to an agent that has all these tools, and it can plan for triggering some. So it will say, okay, like you asked me for a report on the revenue last month. It seems that your team is using Salesforce, that you have this SQL database with all your revenue information, and you have like a CS customer success report in that other place. And so it will call Intercom, it will call Salesforce, it will call your SQL, it will get the data, and then it will realize that in the process, it found another place where there is more information. And so it will relaunch the process and retry another tool until it's satisfied, and it can give you the final answer. And also, like in the same logic, it can have like a dynamic memory. So it can learn that, like this time, the user told me that I should use this database to get the accurate number about X. So I need to remember it for the future. And hopefully, in a team environment, this means that each teammate get a better experience.
One question in the chat was, are there concrete examples when each of these architectures can be of good use? Or are you basically saying here, like, with each of these, we are leveling up in the quality of the answers, and like level 4 is the next evolution? And because it feels at level 4, if some of you have played a bit with Cloud Code or coding agents, you will see them sometimes try to make an API call for the first time with an API they don't know. Maybe they haven't read the documentation. Have a first error, and then what's magical is it's going to look at the error. It's very easy for it to now understand. Well, I made a mistake. Let me read that again. Let me read the documentation again. I'm passing this parameter wrong, of course. Stupid me. And it's going to do the API call again and again until it works. And so it feels that level 4. So it feels that all of these are evolutions. So it's not like whether one is better than the other. It's like each evolution is better. And then that level 4 is really going to get something like an accuracy that's insane, as long as the data is in your systems.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the only reason for which you could stop at level 2 is if you have just one place to look. So, I mean, this
Okay.
basically is the version of Agent 4 with and if I mean, you could still have a retry mechanism, but at least like you might not have n tools. You just have one.
Mhm.
So maybe in this case, like you can kind of be satisfied with it, and it can be good enough for like a. I mean, typically, like if you are in a support use case and you decide to not expose public information, like if you want, for instance, to have a ask on a help center article, like still a help center database, right? You have like 1,000 articles, so it's too much to kind of fit into the context. You might have like a very good result with the level 2, especially if you add a little bit of retry mechanism. But at the end of the day, I think all the retrieval mechanism will have something like this. You always have an extra tool to look at. Right.
Exciting.
All right. Um, what do we have next? So we already went through this. Yeah, we spoke about why. We were going to speak about why AI search is so important for companies. So we have all these use cases that we highlighted here. Not sure if I can. Yeah, I can do that. Great. Um, so each part of your organization has some questions that are being asked every day. And sometimes it's not that obvious that it's questions. Sometimes it's very obvious. Typically, like 50% of our volume of usage is support, success, and sales asking questions about the product of their company. And usually, like it replaces product and engineers having to kind of spend a lot of time explaining.
Mhm.
Same thing for compliance and security questions. Um, Sometimes it's a bit less obvious. For instance, for marketing, this is a use case where this is more something that is about building some material after. So it's not really a question that is blocking, but it's something that they need to do that job. Um, and then like you have like the very classic use case, which would be sales, just getting some information about an account, support, which we just mentioned, a product getting some kind of insights about what to build next based on all the feedback that they got into their help desk or their meeting of their research team, internal policy and onboarding. Yeah, like you have a lot of use cases that are unlocked by enterprise search.
And this is not
Uh,
only, yeah, this
yeah,
is not only for, this could be query for employees. I also work in sales. Just grab my coffee. I work, Acme is my main account. I haven't worked on it for the last 2 weeks because I'm too busy with my other accounts. I start with a search and I get the full context. Or my manager gets the full context on that I've not been doing anything on it for the last 2 weeks. So this can be triggered by humans. But what you have on your next slide is it's also this is where
yeah,
also is getting like it's not even a comeback, but like it's exponential in terms of value.
yeah.
It's also the biggest limitation for agents.
Yeah, absolutely. At least for autonomous agents, for the one like it's kind of like on the slides with automation, if you have a predictable workflow, you
Yeah.
don't necessarily need it. It is kind of like very good for predictable workflows that need unstructured answers. For instance, if you have a trigger of a customer asking a question and you want to trigger like an answer, of course, you will still need something like super in the middle. For the rest, not so much. But if you have an agent that is really kind of on its own and needs some internal information, having access to trustable information that they can tap on their own is quite a game changer. Um, I don't know if I can. I mean, I can start actually the demo with the one of the most advanced use case. If you want on
Yes.
this, Alex.
Yes, I think it's
Um,
good. There were a couple of questions on the we can take a bit later. I think it's good if we can take a look at some demos and then probably have more maybe some questions answered and other questions popping up.
awesome.
So this looks like Claude, which is nice.
This is Claude.
Everybody's latest addiction.
Exactly. I'm, as I said, like this is one of the kind of like more advanced use case, just to show how much of a game changer this can be into any type of workflow beyond just search. But I will definitely come back to the internal question right after. So this is me working on our marketing material this weekend. You have like in super.work, you have this list of workflows. So examples on how to use super that give you some examples. And this data lives in a CMS, which is called Sanity. I can't which is called Sanity. We don't care, but it's just if you've ever used this CMS, you know how complicated it is to kind of like manually update each entry and yeah. I know that we had like some issues with some of this workflow. I was not happy with the way it was phrased. Some metadata was missing, these kind of things. And here, the beauty of having an enterprise search in the middle of my workflows is that here it could extract the data and it was able to query super and to get some information about like, okay, you know, like what's the context on how we want to write these workflows. And then it was able to add to it a request on which workflow needs improvement without me having to remember where it lives. And actually, I totally had forgot that we had a QA on it. We had a document listing all the problems of these workflows that lived in linear, and you just took it and it started to operate all the change. And I could just chat with it and publish the change. And for each workflow, it was able to query super and to ask like from customer feedback and from internal recommendation on how to use super, like how to improve each workflow. Yeah, I literally kind of like changed the whole thing in an hour and a half instead of a day of work, I guess. So this is one of the most advanced, like, you know, like it's a usage of super that is completely remote. But that is, yeah, quite impressive, or was quite impressive for me. I
This
will
is
go
really
to
cool.
the.
This is really cool, and it's connected to different systems. Huh? So you have it plugged to your whole stack. So maybe you can take a look um, what you have connected it with. But like you have connected to slides, obviously. What else does your
Yeah,
instance of?
yeah. Slide is our knowledge base, so indeed, it's synced live with Slide.
Yeah.
These are the sources that we support today. So yeah, we have like a lot of our tool stack, and then we also have the ability to index custom sources. So, you know, like everyone has some special
Got
oddballs
it.
in their tool stack. They can basically build their own sources this way.
Maybe one way for the audience, like where I see a solution like this, when I look at the tools, I think of all the processes that are across teams, where you're trying to get the big picture, and you're trying to pattern match between tools. You're trying to get, for instance, let's say you have some issues in customer support, and you want to see whether your biggest customers are affected. Maybe you're going to look into intercom tickets on one side, but the information as to where your biggest customers maybe is in HubSpot, and that's used to take days, or at least a day for someone to export CSVs, put it in Google Sheets, and then run an analysis. And that's one of the power of this solution, is being able to combine the data in the different tools where it lives. You don't have to have a source of truth where everything lives, because you need best of breed tools. In every team that in your company wants to work with best of breed tools, and you should not take that away from them because you need a one source of truth. And actually, that's the way you can get to a single source of truth, not by having one, but by having a layer on top that's a source of answers on
Yeah, no,
top.
I mean, you know, like it's the reason for which we went from, and it's very much a complement, but we started with a knowledge-based solution and we ended up having on parallel an enterprise search one, is because of this. The goal is to have a single source of truth, even though it
Yeah.
might not start with the document themselves, but by the answer. But I will show you how it loops as well at the end. So you're absolutely right. Like the combination is very strong. Just a basic use case of a tool like Super, or at least for Super, is just a support question. It's just like most CS asking, you know, like a user asked me how the I don't know, like something like a question about the product. I mean, it's the most basic question what I just asked, but still, like I think we'll have answers that will combine various set of data.
Yes. Yeah.
The big thing here is really to be able to have answers that are not necessarily documented or where we know that documentation is often outdated. So here we can see like inline citations. So this is one of the specificity of Super. We have an explanation of the source. This is not a quote. So that you can review, and especially if, for instance, here it comes from Intercom, you can see if you want to trust it or not. You can also exclude it on the fly. Of course, you can filter that out, and you can always, as a user, say, I just want to look in Slack for the answer. I can't type. So yeah, like you can always kind of set filters and so on. But yeah, that's the basic of the experience, and you can of course follow up. The that's the simple usage, and then like what you say indeed is also a massive benefit is being able to combine a lot of sources or to do kind of more advanced research. So I will just look into my history, but for instance here I'm working on something around product. And I can say, very explicitly, find in Intercom and Linear all the users we requested a given feature. I can give some steps, and it's able to combine a lot of source and to give me a full overview with links. In this case, it's for product. You can see my screen, right? Yeah.
Yes, I can see it. I think people confirm. Don't happen sometimes. You can start again. Leave and join again.
Do you want me to
Yeah.
Restart? Maybe
No,
I
no, no, no,
can.
no. It's too dumb because I think sometimes it happens.
Okay.
No, we can see your screen.
So yeah, that's the kind of like a big, indeed, kind of like a combination that adds a lot of value. As I said, like one of the kind of like very nice way to use it is in support to get like some very advanced type of questions, and then you can like be a bit more specific about how you want your team to operate. So in this case, we are in an assistant. So it lets you set some steps and specify some filters. Here, I, for instance, hard-coded context around like how we want to write to our customers and answer some questions. I can give like some specific filters around sources, some conditions, some formatting for the output. And here you can see like the final answer with, in this case, it's like an agent that is built for support as a supporter, I guess. And so I can copy like the answer that is made for the customer straight from there.
Maybe one clarification. So the sidebar that you showed us here, that is not the orchestration you're referring to. That's an additional layer. Like you are handling orchestration on one side, which is, for instance, well, Alex doesn't belong to the finance team, so Alex should not get answers on sensitive invoices or payments because that's that part. And then on top of it, you allow users to orchestrate their if the users
exactly.
knows better, but that's too. Is there a term for the what you have in the UI or the workflows or?
It's a very good question. So what you see indeed, what you saw right before, is presets. So it's assistance. So it's really stuff that you don't want the AI to mess up with. You just want to give them some steps and to go in a certain direction. Here, on the other side, I said something that is a bit more generic. I said, like, give me an exhaustive report on JSON, which is one of our developer work last week. And if you followed a bit the steps that happened, it started by looking into certain places. It discovered that Jason was a developer and that he works in GitHub and Linear. And then he added, well, I say he for the agents, but it added some linear querying and some GitHub querying with some date filtering. It discovered the name of GitHub, of JSON in GitHub. So it really kind of like combines after, but it is dynamic. The assistance is preset. So it's really like, I don't want it to mess. It's actually still smart enough, but it is, you put guardrails. But that's more of a feature for us. It's not for us, but I mean, like it's a smaller difference, really, just a way for you to have some more control.
Okay.
And I see in the chat, how do you handle the permission? I think that's a very important part. So We replicate permission based on email for all the services that we can. So BigQuery, Slack, Linear, Google Drive, most of them. And then actually we are shipping this right now. We add another layer if you want to control for sources that are a bit less clear on this. So for instance, if you index some websites, you can do web search in Super, like you have more tools that you can access. But if you need to find semantic matches in websites, so for instance, if I want to say compare like a Glean, which is a competitor, with Super, semantically I can do it because we indexed both websites. And this is by nature not secure. And maybe you don't want everyone to have like access to a specific website data. So you will be able to add some permission on top. Same things for files or for custom source. If you are building your own source, you might want to index your own meeting transcript, for instance, and restrict it.
And one thing Chris forgot to mention is it's probably a nightmare to implement yourself. This part.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely.
It's not fun. It's needed, but it's not fun to implement.
But it's also a heavy security requirement. Like we have a very good security team. We are, verified SOC 2 Type 2, GDPR compliant, HIPAA, and yeah, like it is
all the fun stuff.
Heavy lifting. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, like I think we have like a lot more use case. Like you mentioned before, like the use case of the account summary. So I can actually use N9X because
I'm scared.
you use Super. I mean, you're not, honestly, we don't have that much kind of data on you because
small.
It's not really. Oh, sorry.
Nice guys, small.
Small Berlin agency.
Asking for free account, so
exactly. That's basically the
nothing
description.
nothing to search in their knowledge.
But yeah, like you can have like this kind of use case where you define like specific sources, like specific steps to get the answer. So we can see that we have a discount that has been provided, for instance, to you guys. And you can set specific answers and kind of milestones and so on. So that's one very good use case if you have GTM operations. One of the best use case I think we mentioned before this call, I think it's worth if we have like people that are building in products in this chat. That's my kind of wow moment of last year. So maybe I can touch on this. Let me share just, I don't know. Okay, yeah. So this chart, a bit of context. This chart is the evolution of the volume of usage of Super. So the number of questions that are asked to Super by different entry points. And the red part, this is what we call the button. So as you can see, it makes for maybe 40% of the total volume of usage now, and it was nowhere in July, because in July, we launched this feature that we call the Super button, which basically like when I am in a conversation in Intercom, but it could be any website, we just natively integrate in Intercom. You can see that there is a little button that appears here. And you as an admin just need to tell your team to install the Chrome extension. And then like we basically have this appear. And you can have like, for instance, generating an answer or finding the experts in the team to help me on this topic. And it combines the data on the web page and the data in your internal knowledge to answer your teammate. And this you can customize. I don't know if I can show that like here in my Super kind of setup. I can admin settings. I can set on which page I want it to appear. I can say, like which steps I want it to follow. Yeah, this is a great example to me on how much enterprise search is essential, but also on how to embed it into the work of your team. And this makes it unavoidable for them. So this is the second challenge of AI in teams in general, is really how to make your team embrace it. This kind of UX really kind of make a big difference.
This is awesome. For the anecdote, we were spending the week in Barcelona building use cases. So having some of our students build use cases for customer care, and there are plenty of ticket summary, comment, analysis cases that push back information to Zendesk, and that's that looks pretty compelling.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so I
yeah.
think
It's
I'm not, like if not a full replacement, at least something very complementary to what we're building, and probably also easier to configure. Um, so that's great. Now I can ask because I'm the host. When is it coming to Atio?
the button. You can build
Yes.
your own, but where you're right is that honestly, it's hard to build a very good one yourself. So our goal is to
Okay.
take all the sources that we support and build the native ones ourselves. So
Okay.
right
Okay.
now you
Okay.
can build one, but yeah. Mm.
You can build one.
You can, yeah, you can, but it is
Okay.
not that easy, and we want to kind of like just build it for you by default,
Okay.
and that lets
Okay.
you
Okay.
customize.
Okay. Okay. Got it. Because yes, I think so. Yeah, like, do you support CRMs at the moment, or primarily doing customer like support your tools like Intercom? Yeah,
No,
the
we
integrate.
support Attio, HubSpot, and very soon Salesforce, which is in alpha.
Okay. Okay.
Uh,
Oof.
En fait, all the sources of unstructured data are interesting for us
Okay.
because this is where like you get, for instance, intercom help us. Maybe one last kind of very interesting for us kind of like use case. This is something that you can do if you have Super tomorrow. Uh, you have here a proofreader assistant. So what it does, so as I said,
Mm.
like I've not kind of pushed on it at all because this is not the topic. We have a knowledge-based company, which is like Super and Slide are basically Excel and PowerPoint. Like they live side by side. You can get them together.
Yep.
And one of the reasons for which we started Super is that because people loved our AI search in Slide, but we saw that the data was living a bit everywhere. And now we're starting to kind of like close the loop where we can do this kind of use case, which compare existing article. So here it finds a document. I just tells it to find a specific document in my articles and to read it. I could be more explicit here. I'm kind of like trusting it to find it. I think it will. And basically to proof check every single entry in it, compared in this case to Slack, Intercom, GitHub, Linear, and output a summary of what's
The gap, basically.
voilà, the gaps. So you have a little for each here. So it means that it runs actually for each single piece of information in the article. It runs again and
Yeah.
again,
Yeah.
like a
Yeah.
semantic query against past support ticket that maybe say that this was not clear or there was something missing. The GitHub pull requests that have been merged, the linear ticket that have been marked as done. And yeah, here, for instance, I will take the first one. This article doesn't mention that the knowledge management panel is only accessible to workspace member and not guests and readers. And we had a conversation in Intercom that this was not clear. So it suggests basically that maybe we should indicate this. We start to be in a...
1 second. 1 second. This closing this loop, like closing loops like this, is the dream of a support team. Like, because
Yeah.
you run this search basically, you run this search daily, and you can just have like the self healing or self updating knowledge base. You have to go through the report, but the amount of is usually, if you like, if you have the time to go through the data, you're going to do it once a month. I think most teams navigate still on guesswork, even though they have we have a ton of AI tools nowadays. My guess is most teams still, because drowning in the rest of the work, like this never gets prioritized, and you navigate only on guesswork. If
Yeah.
your customers are complaining about a very pressing issue, you will see that, but you will miss everything else. Like, there's no way you stay on top of this
It's very hard.
if you're too busy at processing support requests. Like, this is basically serving you this on a silver platter, and then you have to review. It's like it's like a merge request, right?
Well, I mean, that's the thing that is
Almost.
interesting right now here. This part, because it doesn't have like the document, it stopped at the this is wrong. And then
Yeah.
what you can do is say like, this is wrong. Here is what you should write. And this is what we are building. And it's more than that. It's actually
Yeah.
like, here is what you should change like at this location. And
Yeah.
because we have like a knowledge-based product, this is the agent that we are building on the side. Like, so we have two agents. Like we have one, which is like the super to get answers. That is finding any answers across all your
Yeah.
data, including textual or qualitative one and quantitative one. And we can loop it with Slide, which is an agent that is built to maintain your knowledge up to date. So that's what we are building right now is the application of this. When you have both tools, we want you to put some documents on autopilot. Like we want you to select your App Center to say, you will check it against the intercom tickets and the GitHub pull requests that get merged every week. And every week, I want you to make sure that nothing is missing or
Yeah.
wrong. And you will it suggests like parts of text that needs to change. Yeah, very challenging experience to build. Technically, everything works. Basically, like all the kind of like hard parts, like the flagging the information is done. And the challenge now that we have is the user experience to make it clean because we still want people to manually validate this. Anyway, we are going far away from Super itself, but yeah, that's something
No, but
that
it's
we're building right
interesting
now.
because it's interesting to see how so there's a clear application of, because when you think of search, you can maybe sometimes in people's mind is not that it's not that valuable, but you can looking for facts, getting the info, unless this translates into actions, and sometimes are very guilty. We don't necessarily act upon this information. This might not be always clear what is the value, despite you're already saving time on the queries. But this is when you manage to close the loop with search, and like, so this is one example of a loop that you're bringing directly in your product.
Yeah.
But I think like that should give people an idea of, if it's not a loop, you have an obvious loop between your two products. But when I think of agents and them acting on our systems, there's also the missing piece is just a very, very reliable search that's going to supercharge the agent and make it able to act accordingly most of the time, or 100% of the time. And we're at this stage where if you manage to do it in your product, and probably using a great search solution, agents are going to be able to perform much more reliably this year than 2 years ago, when
It's
the models were less performing and you didn't have NCP, you didn't have the capacity to hold long context windows and keep on long tasks. So these are
absolutely.
all coming now. Do you feel also there's like a tipping point now that
Absolutely. And
your
there is
product on
also a
this
good,
side? Yeah.
well, 100%. And there is like a very nice pattern that is appearing right now where like you have like the orchestrators like Claude or ChatGPT or whatever that
Yeah.
perform so much better. Like I will show you another example of the advanced, I say advanced, I'm not sure, but like the externalized remote usage. I was
Yeah.
doing the change log of Super. So our role is not. Is it a good one? Yeah. And I could do it in Super itself, but I really enjoy to have this mix where basically I have less context in the window. Like Claude has less context. It just asks a question to Super. It gets the output, which is just a document more or less for each question that it asks. Oh no, here it read our website, sorry. But then like when it look in Super for each question, so here it finds, for instance, specifically in Slack, some kind of updates since a given date. And then it looks into linear plus Slack. I mean, it could have like been better at this and ask like specifically for GitHub and linear and so on. But yeah, like this means that instead of flooding the context window with too much information, it splits the query into more isolated parts, which to me it is much better because it means that you don't pollute too much the window of Claude and it means that you don't have like you don't kind of like distract it from the core goal. And you can also optimize the retrieval of super to be more accurate, to know how your company is structured, where to find the information. So yeah.
Somehow I got disconnected in the middle of the explanation, but like what you're saying is you let because when you run Claude, you have so you start a conversation, you have a given context window, and you're going to run out of space if a lot of that context window is spent searching, and if you call super, you externalize that, and you get the answer.
You have this, and you have also the ability to speed up the process. You have the ability to
Okay.
not necessarily kind of like, like it has a very large context window, but at least it doesn't kind of like flood it with things that will distract it, like the accuracy kind of like
That
drops with the length of the context. So that's another benefit. And once again, like the other benefit is just that you have like one agent that is here to kind of do one job, which is finding and knowing where to find internal information.
yeah.
And that's very beneficial for all the jobs. Like it means that you, as a team admin, can have a compounding effect, make sure that, it's optimized, that you add like the right context to each tool. So yeah, like I think that's the stack of the future to have like to have this, yeah.
100%. Very nice. A couple more questions in the chat. We were slightly over time. Do you want to take a few ones from the chat, Chris,
Yeah,
and then
I have 10 more,
we'll
10
wrap
more
this up?
minutes if you want.
Yes,
Yeah.
perfect. Do you see the questions? I don't know. There's
Yeah. So I mean, I'm looking at the end. I assume that
yes, this is where they are.
I mean, I see things, for instance, is Glean and super similar, like on top that we haven't touched. I actually, I think I had on my screen right before, like, so the biggest difference with Glean, honestly, is just that we don't address at all the same market. Glean, Glean doesn't have a self-serve, so we can't compare ourselves, but all the customers that have compared us picked super at the end. We have much better kind of retrieval capabilities, but it is an enterprise product. So if you want on-premise, you will use Glean. And if you're willing to pay 3 times more than Super, you might be able to pick Glean. If not, like Super might be your best choice. For the rest, I can't really kind of judge that much. What I can say is that Glean is not, by essence, it's more an enterprise search, as in finding files. And then it added the retrieval part, which explains why it's maybe a bit less performant. And yeah,
but you are
that's
focusing on you are focusing on like AI curious SMBs, but you could also, or you have customers where you deploy super on very large organizations. Are you starting to
yeah.
see that?
We have our largest organization is like 1,200 for Super, but our art is in the 50, 500, 600 people team. This is really where
Yeah.
we know that we are very good. And
Okay.
under as well, but it's just like, under 50 people, like it's more like for power users because you have less the problem of repetitive questions. But I think this will
Yes.
grow over time.
Okay. Hope that answers the question. There were also lots of questions from Philip based on vector embeddings. That is also complex data rooms. It was a very extensive set of questions. Maybe on that, Philip, we have touched things at the beginning of the workshops on the different ways you can retrieve data.
Yeah.
There's some things where, like GraphRag, for instance, we have not.
Yeah,
Um,
it's interesting. I think it's worth touching on this because here we have an application which is enterprise search, like applied to actual enterprise data, where you have a lot of permission problematic and different type of unstructured knowledge. GraphRag can be interesting, like graph in general, like which is a different way to index and retrieve the data, can be interesting for other type of industry and needs. So I'm not an expert there, but vectors can be very performant. So the embedding, the fact of having semantic search,
yeah.
depending on the way you orchestrate around. But I see over and over, typically in the finance industry, that you have like some industry specific needs. When you have data rooms with thousands and thousands of files, for instance, So yeah, it's
So
good
you have
to especially.
vertical, there are vertical search solutions specific to industries where you have, large amounts of data or a specific type of data that's very hard to retrieve.
Yeah, I mean the most kind of like telling example I think is Cloud Code. If there are developers in the room, and I assume that there are developers in the room, like Cloud Code really changed the industry when they launched. I don't know if I have an editor open. I don't.
This
Uh,
one too,
huh?
this one too. It also changed this industry. Which one
Yeah, like
hasn't it
it.
changed?
Yeah, but I mean, the if you look back 6 months ago, like nobody was speaking so much about Cloud Code, and Boris Cherny arrived and decided to try an experiment on giving an optimization of the tool calling to Claude inside the IDE instead of indexing the data. Cursor has always been about indexing the data to find where to change the things, and Claude took a completely different approach to retrieval, which was instead of indexing the data, say like you can browse the tree, you can find certain keywords, and in code base with a lot of context given, it works incredibly well. And so for the industry of development, yes, like I mean, we don't need RAG as in semantic search.
Mhm.
And it changed everything. And a lot of people, for instance, in the finance industry, try to create, like the only problem with this is that you need structured organization. Like you need
Mhm.
things that are pre-processed to be very clean, respecting exact keyword that need to be well organized in the tree. So it doesn't fit all usage, but it's more to say there are like certain industry where you can apply
Okay.
different type of solution for retrieval. And I mean, yeah, Cloud Code being so incredible is the best example of this for a parallel world, which is the developer one.
Super cool. Um, Pierre gives the feedback is one of the like best session he has attended. We tried to take a spin down more like diving into a bit more technical topic. I think a lot of the workshops we've done lately are like for beginners, looking into how do you get started with Cloud Code, for instance, like more introduction. Here we took the decision to have like something more diving into a topic that's a bit more technical. That was very insightful, Chris. If there are other questions, like feel free to send these to us either in the comments of the YouTube video, or continue in the chat. Any closing or parting words on where this is where we are heading, Chris? Like for me, I think like when I think combining Super with Cloud Code or combining Super as the source of context for agents,
Mm.
seeing how much better both your search and LLMs or reasoning models are getting, or coding models, coding engines are getting. See a lot of possibilities here to delegate, to have more autonomy for agents. But how do you look at it?
But I think the search tool, I will try to kind of show you a document that I was working on right before. I mean, this is just, it's an ideation that I had before. Um, Something that we see happening in real time for us. So as I say, we have
Mhm.
Slide, which is this little icon, which is, and this tool actually, which is a knowledge-based platform. And we see ourselves developing a lot of tools to create an agent. En fait, more or less, more and more like the what I showed you before, the fact of proofreading and updating documents, it really becomes an agent where we just give instruction to our little agent to say like, now, reorganize this, archive these three documents, like you should kind of harmonize the title of all this channel. Oh, this information seems to be duplicated. Which one should I keep? And we have incredible results. And so we see
Mhm.
ourselves starting instead of like what we had before, which was an API with a lot of units, endpoint, like one to search, one to create, one to update, one to archive. We see us bringing them into one tool that is a sub agent, that is the agent for your knowledge. And the same thing happened with
Mm.
Super. Like instead of having, one tool where you need to know how to query your project management tool, one tool to know how to query your SQL database and what are the rules to do that, one tool that maybe needs to know what are your personal preferences when we speak to you. we see it kind of like starting to blend into one sub-agent that is just about internal search. And I think this is a trend that we'll see more and more in the industry. It's another example of this is Linear, which is a project management tool. Linear has a very good example of this in Slack, where if you add Linear and you ask it something, you can just say, okay, create an issue about the thread before and assign me to this and put it in these teams, and it will do it. So there is this kind of like, comfort in navigating kind of complex queries of the user and stopping to use directly the UI, at least for creation, which I think will really expand at least in the 2 next years. And my conviction, of course, is that at least for certified knowledge and for retrieval of certified information, there will be these 2 tools, or at least similar tools, that will be essential in your stack.
Thank you, Chris. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thanks so much, Alex.
I think we should do another one on maybe like a live build when we'll bring the power of search and super to examples of agents that people can build. Maybe like a comparison on how regular retrieval with maybe API calls, if you already know where the information is, works in platforms like Make or A10. And what happens when you replace that, you swap that with Super? What kind of things are possible? I think it will simplify greatly how agents are built. Yeah. So you have like you talk about the agents, general purpose agents that you could use to manage all your knowledge, manage all your team data. But for those who are building workflows, there's a lot that is about retrieving the context. That maybe tomorrow you just call one service and you get the context, and it's always the same service. Hopefully,
my personal conviction, like you are in this world of automation and no-code, my conviction is that instead or on top of the 2 bubbles of the top of automation and all-purpose AI, I think there is a world where there is a last bubble, which probably will be made by Claude and ChatGPT, at least tried, but and maybe an A10 as well. But where instead of kind of giving graph of like first you do this, then you do that, and so on, it will be much more loose. And you just say here are like the 4 agents that are here to answer your thing, and they will kind of you will just give instruction to the orchestrator of these 4 agents that have like specific sources that they are allowed to use, specific actions that they are allowed to make, specific feedback and request for the users to validate some input if needed. But for the rest, basically, they will be independent on some things. And when you say, generate a follow-up email for this account, and you need to kind of like have like a bit of, you might not have to be very kind of specific, saying first you read this playbook, then you do this, and so on. Maybe you just say, well, Salesforce, slide, and whatever, like play together and give me like the best version of this possible.
I can tell you that given how tricky it can be to sometimes build those workflows, and especially for enterprises, because you need access and so on, that if you have like the one gate to call, or the one or 2 agents that you configure, and then you can use them in variety of use cases. Yes, you will see also an explosion of automation use cases. Thank you, Chris, and thank you for everyone who joined the session. We'll be back next week with, I think it's another Cloud Code for beginners. So you have all the time to grab your Super account in the meantime, and then next week you can connect Cloud Code to it and live in the future. Thanks, Chris.
Awesome. Bye-bye. And if you want to
Ciao.
try Super, by the way, go to super.work. It is gated. It is gated, but I will tell my team to kind of like prioritize the onboarding sessions and to send links if you want to